All right, welcome back to The Hill. So far, it's been a summer of mounting delays, canceled flights for many, and there is broad consensus in Washington that the Federal Aviation Administration is understaffed by a lot. But how that problem is fixed is the subject of debate. With us to discuss is Republican Congressman Dusty Johnson of South Dakota. He's also a member of the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. Congressman, welcome here to The Hill on NewsNation. We are going to get to all of that in a second, but I don't know if you heard our interview with Vivek Ramaswamy and talking about Donald Trump, former Republican president today, coming out and saying that he expects to be indicted in the upcoming days for what happened on January 6th. If that's indeed the case and what you saw as a member of Congress on that day, are you comfortable with that?
Well, January 6th was a stain on American history for sure. Listen, it was a dangerous day. I know there are people who try to paper over that, make it seem like, it wasn't that big a deal. Listen, it was a big deal. It was a sacred constitutional act. Congress needed to pursue that day, and there were people who tried to interrupt it. It was a big problem. I think we're still learning about the involvement of various figures on that day, and so rather than prejudge the facts, I just say, there's a process. Obviously, there's always a legal process. You got to let it work.
Do you blame Donald Trump for that day?
Well, I certainly think the president could have done a number of things better that day. I think some of his messaging was positive toward the end of the day. It took a long time, and I think there would have been an opportunity for things to be far less disruptive had some of those messages come earlier.
All right. You are on the Select Committee on China, and there was a letter that you sent, that the committee sent, to UC Berkeley, one of the premier institutions in California, on a story that we have been covering. Tell us about it, Congressman, and what your concern is.
Well, I would first off say with the Select Committee on China, we're taking a look at the fact that there are more threats coming from the Chinese Communist Party than I think most Americans realize. For about 20 years, we have had our head in the sand. I think we need to acknowledge the very real diplomatic, economic, and military threats from the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese people are not our problem. They're the primary victims of the CCP aggression. But we just want to make sure that from an economic perspective, from a cultural perspective, that all of America is really waking up to the fact that the Chinese Communist Party is really trying to infiltrate and gain coercive economic power over a lot of parts of American society. And by the way, that's a bipartisan message. Everything we've been doing on the committee has been bipartisan.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.